The Orlando Magic are finally doing it. Number 32 is heading up to the rafters next month. Why Shaq is the perfect player to be the first jersey retired for the Orlando Magic, and why he is not. We'll get to that, plus Paolo Banchero in the NBA All-Star returns. It's time to pay attention to Locked On Magic.
You are Locked On Magic, your daily Orlando Magic podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And you are indeed Locked On Magic. Today is January 5th, 2024. My name is Philip Rossman-Reich. I'm the expert and site editor over at OrlandoMagicDaily.com. You can follow me on Twitter at PhilipRR_OMD. On today's episode of Locked On Magic, the Orlando Magic have broken the seal. The number 32 jersey is heading to the rafters at Kia Center. Shaquille O'Neal will be in town next month to be honored as the first jersey retired in Orlando Magic history. We'll talk about why he is the absolute right choice for the Orlando Magic to be the first jersey retirement. We'll also talk about why he is not. You can probably see in the rundown what my argument is going to be. We'll get to that coming up here, though, in just a moment. First, we want to thank you again for making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. No matter when you listen to us, whether it's first in the morning, whether it's right when we upload, we truly appreciate you making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. Remember, there's a great Locked On podcast covering every single team in the NBA. Just search for Locked On and the team you're looking for, the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by LinkedIn. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNBA. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNBA to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Don't forget the Orlando Magic finish their 4-game West Coast road trip tonight against the Denver Nuggets. Tip-off is at 9 p.m. If you want to catch every play of the Orlando Magic's season with the home radio broadcast from our friend Jake Chapman, you can do that on the SiriusXM app. Go to the SXM app and search Orlando Magic today. The Orlando Magic are celebrating the 35th anniversary season. And they did promise us beyond just the new jerseys, beyond just a celebration of the team's past, that there would be something special. And I think some of us did suspect that the Orlando Magic were going to officially lift their policy regarding retiring jerseys. 10 years ago, for the 25th anniversary season, the Magic announced the formation of the Orlando Magic Hall of Fame, which to me is a great thing. It is a fantastic way to honor both the absolute legends on this team's roster, bring them in for a first time, and then maybe a second time for a jersey retirement, but a way to honor players who maybe don't elevate themselves to a jersey retirement, but still had a meaningful contribution to the franchise. Jeff Turner's not in the Hall of Fame yet. He will be. He's a great example. Like, obviously, Jeff would even admit this as a player, not the biggest impact on the floor, but as a contributor to the Magic, absolutely is. Darrell Armstrong's a great example of this too. Darrell Armstrong, I think some Magic fans, honestly, for me, when I've been doing the exercise of which jerseys do I retire, Darrell Armstrong's kind of been my dividing line. Is like, Darrell is a great player, important, not jersey retirement. I don't think number 10 should be up in the rafters, but putting him in the Hall of Fame, absolutely. Bo Outlaw in the Magic Hall of Fame. But no doubt, the Magic are a little weird. Shaquille O'Neal himself has talked about this. There's been a lot of people who are just like, why don't the Magic just retire jerseys? What is their hang up? And Alex Martin, the Magic CEO, continually said, we want to win a championship first, which fair enough. And I've always kind of believed that every team can decide how they want to honor their history, however they want to honor it. Here we are 10 years later, 35th anniversary season, and the Magic have decided to take this step. And frankly, regardless of how you feel about Shaquille O'Neal, and while I think that a lot of people have, time heals all wounds, a lot of people have moved beyond, maybe some of the bad feelings that Shaq left when he left in 1996. there is no telling of the Orlando Magic story without Shaquille O'Neal. In fact, I would argue Shaquille O'Neal still casts a very large shadow on this franchise. And so if we're talking about just a player and a person who has made a humongously deep impact on the team, on the organization, a player and a person that in many ways defines this franchise, it makes Shaquille O'Neal the obvious choice to be the first player that this team retires their jersey for. And indeed, on February 13th, against the Oklahoma City Thunder, the Magic's lone national television game of the season, a big, humongous celebration of both the Magic's past and potentially its future against one of the up-and-coming teams in the league, the Orlando Magic will indeed raise the number 32 to the rafters at the Kia Center and make Shaquille O'Neal the first jersey retired. I really... I'm going to make this argument here in a second. Retiring a jersey, to me, is really ensuring that a player's legacy is always remembered. What I think raising that banner to the rafters at Kia Center is going to signify, is going to tell everyone, is it makes that player a constant reminder. It is the legacy of the jersey. I love the Orlando Magic Hall of Fame. I love the idea. You can tell I'm a Magic history buff. I do know people on the Orlando Magic's history committee. I have talked to them about this. I've joked with them, figuring out who deserves to be in the Orlando Magic Hall of Fame is not the hard part. The hard part is deciding what order they all should go in and convincing Scott Skiles to come back to Orlando. I love the Magic Hall of Fame, but it's tucked away in the back. People who come to the Amway Center and sit on the other side of the building may never see that display, may never absorb that piece of Magic history. I love the Magic video that they play right before tip-off. Magic history should be front and center. There's a lot for this, for a team that hasn't won a title, there's a lot for this Magic team to be proud of, and a lot to celebrate in this 35th anniversary season. But to have your jersey retired means that your presence looms over the franchise. Those are the footsteps that every player is following. And again, there is no player who represents that more than Shaquille O'Neal. I think it's really difficult for us today, and certainly for younger fans. I'm 35. I'm as old as the Magic are. I was in elementary school when Shaquille O'Neal got here. I don't even think I fully understand. My parents probably understand it more. But I don't think we even really fully comprehend and understand the impact Shaquille O'Neal had, not only on this franchise, becoming their first All-Star, becoming, helping lead the team to its first playoff appearance in 1984, really losing on the fourth tiebreaker in his rookie year in 93, to the first finals in 95, to its first piece of relevance. I don't think we understand or remember clearly how much Shaquille O'Neal changed everything about Orlando. Honestly, Orlando historians, correct me if I'm wrong here. Outside of Walt Disney, Shaquille O'Neal may have had as big of an impact on the city of Orlando as any single person. I will grant you this. He's probably top 5 in just people who brought attention to Orlando and just made this city feel like a big city, feel like something that mattered. And even beyond that, when Shaq left in 96, it gutted everything. And in fact, in many ways, this organization, this franchise, is still chasing the high of that 95 team, of that 96 team. Obviously, Shaq is a larger-than-life figure. Even in the mid-90s, he was a person that drew attention. Orlando is still a smallish market. At least in NBA terms, it's a small market. But everyone came to Orlando to see Shaquille O'Neal. The Magic traveling around were like the Beatles, were like the Bulls of the time. people wanted a piece of this team, from the fashion to the players to everything. And Shaq was a part of that. Like I said before, you cannot tell the story of this franchise without Shaquille O'Neal. And so whatever you think of him, and 4 years is a short time, and I understand that part of the argument of why they shouldn't retire his jersey. He left in really poor circumstances. I hate to tell you, every star except for Nikola Vucevic, which I don't think, I love Vuce to death. I'm not retiring number 9. That's a dividing line for me too. Every star is left on bad terms because the Magic, frankly, were too young to handle the kind of attention that Shaq gave them. They didn't know how to run a franchise yet. But Shaq made everyone grow up and put everyone in the spotlight very, very quickly. To say nothing of it, Shaq averaged like 27 points per game with the Magic. Again, put them squarely on the map. Regardless of when you think his jersey should be retired, 32 was always going to hang up. 32, 1, 1, 12. Shaq, Dwight, Penny, T-Mac. Those four, that Mount Rushmore, put him up yesterday. I am looking forward to seeing Penny Hardaway's jersey retirement ceremony next year, or Tracy McGrady's jersey retirement ceremony next year. Dwight's got to go into the Magic Hall. He's got to retire first, then go into the Magic Hall of Fame, and then we'll wait 2-3 years and we'll put 12 up. That absolutely needs to and should happen. But Shaq is the one that started it all. Shaq is still the one that defines every piece of the Magic experience. And so there is no better player to receive this first honor, to break this seal, and to get his jersey hanging above us, so that not only is he spiritually casting a shadow over this franchise, he will now physically be doing it for all time. And everyone knows that Shaq is the standard this team has to live up to. Of course, I don't think Shaq should be the first. Love Shaq to death. I'm very excited to celebrate Shaq's 4 years in Orlando. Very excited to see 32 hang in the rafters, but Shaq shouldn't be first. And I get why he's first. I'm cool with it. Another player deserves to get his jersey retired immediately. We'll talk about Nick Anderson's legacy coming up here in just a moment. But first, it's time for a quick word from our friends over at LinkedIn. At the start of the new year, every small business owner is asking themselves the same question. What's the one move I can make that'll take my business to the next level in 2024? Well, LinkedIn Jobs knows that your success all depends on the team you surround yourself with. That's why LinkedIn Jobs has created the tools to help find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. LinkedIn isn't just another job board. LinkedIn has a vast network of more than 8 billion professionals, which makes it the best place to hire. Hiring is easy when you have that many quality candidates, so easy, in fact, that 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. Look, none of us can do it alone. We all need the right people, and success for all of us is about the team behind us or the team working with us. It's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs number one in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn also knows that small businesses are wearing so many hats and might not have the time or resources to hire. So LinkedIn thankfully makes that process intuitive, quick, and easy. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNBA. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNBA to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Today's episode of Locked On Magic is also brought to you by our friends over at BetterHelp. Look, January is a time for renewal. It is a time for a refresh. The beginning of the year, as arbitrary as it is a chance to reset ourselves. We all make resolutions. We all tend to break them by the January 5th anyway. But here's a resolution that you should stick to. This year, your resolution, I know my resolution, it's this every year, and I try my best to stick to it. Your resolution is to take care of yourself. And that's why a service like BetterHelp can help you accomplish your goals for 2024. BetterHelp is truly therapy around your schedule. I have been in therapy throughout many parts of my life to help me handle emotional crises, to help me handle events that are happening in my life, to just get a grip on things going on around me, and to help me weather the storm. It's always stormy outside. Therapy truly is a godsend at times. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. Celebrate the progress you've already made and prepare to make a whole lot more. Visit BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA today to get 10% off your first month. Again, that's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnNBA. We want to thank you again for making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. We want you to remember that Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Go to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube and subscribe to the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel today. So, like I said, I am really excited for Shaquille O'Neal to have his jersey retired. Again, his jersey 100% should go up in the rafters. 32 is synonymous with this franchise. Again, I think for a lot of people around the world, when you think Orlando Magic, you think Shaquille O'Neal. Everything about this franchise really sprouts from that draft of Shaquille O'Neal in 1992, the finals trip in 95. Even like the biggest mistakes the Magic have made in their franchise history are all because they're trying to either recapture what they had in Shaquille O'Neal, which is impossible, or they're trying to avoid the mistakes they made with Shaquille O'Neal. The Magic are always chasing that high. And again, we can debate who the best team is in Magic history. I would argue 2010, 95, 96, and 2009 are your four best teams in franchise history. We could argue 2010, 95 till the cows come home. That 95 team, though, is probably the most influential and important team in franchise history for a number of reasons. And Shaquille O'Neal is a big reason for it and is a huge presence on this team. So 32 deserves to hang in the rafters. And again, he does deserve to be first. He does deserve to be the first one, a big splash, a big name to break that seal and to be the front man for what it takes to have your jersey retired. I can't argue with it. And again, I'm excited. I was already excited for February 13th to have a national television game at home against another great young team in the Thunder. But now to have that be a jersey retirement night just makes that night so much bigger. And we've all pointed to that day on the calendar for so long. It's coming and it's going to be amazing. But I have long said that Shaq should not be first. As important as he is, as big as he is, as clear as day that number 32 should be up on the rafters, he should not be first. And while I don't think the Magic will do anything to ruin the spectacle of Shaquille O'Neal becoming the first retired jersey in franchise history, I do hope that if they're going to plan on doing one of these a year for the foreseeable future, they really only have 4 of these they need to do. So it's really just planning and figuring that out. If the Magic are only going to retire one jersey a year, the next jersey must be number 25. The bottom line is this: Nick Anderson is Mr. Orlando Magic. For whatever you want to say about him, and there's not anything negative to say about him. Nick Anderson to a lot of Magic fans and to just the soul of the franchise. I mean, honestly, that's it. Nick Anderson is the soul of this franchise. The first draft pick for the Orlando Magic, the first player who was wholly an Orlando Magic player. A key contributor in the early years, averaged 19.9 points per game his second season in the league. When Shaquille O'Neal came, he became a valued role player. He made the biggest play in Magic history, stealing the ball from Michael Jordan in game 1 of the 95 conference semifinals. More importantly, he has remained a presence in the community in Orlando. He has remained an ambassador and a face of this franchise. There is a reason why it was abundantly clear when the Magic made the Orlando Magic Hall of Fame 10 years ago, only 2 guys could be first. Only 2 guys could be the first people inducted into that Hall of Fame. Pat Williams, whose vision and drive made the franchise even possible in the late 80s, and Nick Anderson, player who played 10 years with this franchise, remains a key contributor to the franchise and a key face of the franchise to the public. Most people would say that, you look at Nick Anderson's stats, that his stats don't warrant retirement. He's not going to the Hall of Fame. He never made an all-star team. And that argument is correct. But to me, this is about what it means to be an Orlando Magic player. Again, he is the soul of this franchise. And my fear as someone who watched him play growing up, as someone who understands how important his legacy is, my fear is that there is a whole generation of Magic fans. This franchise is 35 years old. Nick Anderson hasn't played for the Magic since 1999. So we're at 25 years since Nick Anderson last donned a Magic uniform to play. I don't know if he plays in the Bally versus Staff game. So maybe he dons a Magic jersey for that. But it's been 25 years since Nick Anderson wore a Magic jersey in a game. And my fear is that there is a whole generation of Magic fans now who did not see him play and only associated him with his most negative moment. Look, if the first thing you think of with Nick Anderson is the missed free throws in game 1 of the 95 finals, you're not a Magic fan. Educate yourself. You're not a Magic fan. Because Nick Anderson means so much more to this franchise. And so, if there is one player that I would excuse a statistical marker for, or a statistical benchmark for, to retire a jersey, it's Nick Anderson's 25. Like I said, if you're retiring a jersey, it means you are putting a permanent marker in the Arena Bowl for everyone to see. You are putting something up in the rafters, something for people to literally look up to, that sets the standard for what this franchise is about. What I think about when I see a retired jersey is it is something that's not tucked away in the corner in the concourse. It's something that if you're in the Arena Bowl watching a game, you can't help but notice. And to me, as a lifelong Magic fan, as someone who's watched this team my entire life, making sure Nick Anderson's memory is constantly front and center, is constantly something that, someone who's 5, who's going to their first Magic game asks, who's Nick Anderson? And, me being the dad would explain to that child, it's Passover all over again. Explain to that child, this is what Nick Anderson did for me. Sorry, Passover joke. To me, Nick Anderson is deserving of that honor. And I've come around on this. It took me years to come around on this. But I do think it is important to have that reminder and to ensure that the original Magic player, the original guy that we all love, has that permanent place. That he understands, everyone understands his importance to this franchise. Look, I get why he's not first. You're selling more tickets for Shaq than you are for Nick Anderson. Nick Anderson is very specific to the Magic. And there are examples of this from other teams that have retired jerseys. Johnny Davis and Dave Twardzik for the Portland Trailblazers. Not national names, not Hall of Famers, but Blazers fans love those guys. Buck Williams for the Brooklyn Nets, or back when they were the New Jersey Nets. There are examples of this throughout. Nick Anderson is that important. To me, he is that important. And again, I get why Shaq is first. I get why he gets to go up first. Sells more tickets, bigger draw, TNT broadcast. I get it. I think, when the Magic retire 25, I think there's going to be some snickers from the NBA world. And I don't care what they think. He's important to us. He's important to our franchise. And I think now that we're starting to retire jerseys, we can't forget that. So yeah, I expect T-Mac to have his jersey retired very soon. Next year, maybe, year after, maybe. I expect Penny Hardaway to have his jersey retired very soon. When Dwight Howard retires, he will go into the Hall of Fame first, or he will have a Hall of Fame jersey retirement combo. But his number 12 will hang in the rafters. Time's healing all wounds. I did that episode back in August. I think number 25 should be up there too. And the sooner we get 25 up there, the better. NBA All-Star returns are out. We'll talk about the Magic's next jersey retirement or next superstar, Paolo Banchero, where he stands and why, please, God, someone pay attention to this kid. We'll get to that coming up here in just a moment. But first, it's time for a quick word from our friends over at Hungryroot. Hungryroot, it's one word. Trying to eat a little healthier in 2024? Hungryroot is here to rescue you from short-lived resolutions by making meal planning easy and nutritious. Build healthy habits that won't disappear by February with Hungryroot. Whether you're braving the cold or dealing with crowds, grocery shopping this time of year is the worst. So stay home and let Hungryroot handle it. With Hungryroot, you can kickstart a week of healthy eating and get groceries delivered right to your door. Hungryroot provides value in so many ways, helps you save money, reduces food waste, keeps you from that grocery store, and you get 40% off and free veggies for life. Hungryroot is the easiest way to get fresh, high-quality food delivered to your door. They've got healthy groceries and simple recipes all in one place. Hungryroot is going to recommend recipes and groceries based on your tastes. Take their suggestions or choose anything you want. They've got fresh produce, high-quality meat and seafood, pantry staples, healthy snacks and sweets, and much more. I know for me, I've done meal prep services before. I love having everything portioned out. I have a sweet tooth, so anything I can do to make my snacking healthier, I am usually for it. Hungryroot goes beyond your weekly grocery haul with thousands of easy recipes that actually put your groceries to good use before they get forgotten in the back of your fridge. Right now, Hungryroot is offering Locked On NBA Friday listeners 40% off your first delivery and free veggies for life. Just go to hungryroot.com/lockedon to get 40% off your first delivery and get your free veggies today. That's hungryroot.com/lockedon. Don't forget to use our links so they know we sent you. A bit of news came out on Thursday, so we're not going to just live in the past. We're going to start looking to the future as All-Star returns came out for the first time with NBA All-Star voting. Paolo Banchero, he's not going to start. We knew he wasn't going to start. But Paolo Banchero sitting in 10th place among the Eastern Conference frontcourt players. Have to say I'm a little disappointed, trailing Kyle Kuzma by roughly 15,000 votes. We got to get those votes up, people. We got to turn people out. Make sure Paolo is at least well represented in the Eastern Conference frontcourt. Look, this voting stuff doesn't matter. You look at the standings. Giannis, Joel Embiid, Jason Tatum are your top three. Jason Tatum has nearly a 1 million vote lead on Jimmy Butler. I feel pretty safe to say that those three are going to be your Eastern Conference stars. And I think we all knew and understood Paolo wasn't going to be an all-star starter. That just wasn't in the cards for him. That just wasn't, not that wasn't in the cards for him. It just felt like this group particularly was very well established. That they, it was very well established. Like it was going to be hard to break into that group. So this all-star voting is more about a sense of pride than anything else. It's more a statement of like, hey, hey, pay attention to us. We're over here. We're over here. Paolo's going to be in the All-Star game. So long as the Orlando Magic are still in the top 6, top 8 even, the coaches are going to put Paolo in the All-Star game. Like Kyle Kuzma isn't going to make the All-Star team. You know, I honestly, with where the Heat are at, find it hard to believe that both Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo will get in. I don't think Kristaps Porzingis necessarily has the numbers. If a non-Jaylen Brown, non-Jason Tatum gets in, it's probably going to be Derek White. Not that Porzingis has been bad. He's been good. You know, Scotty Barnes isn't in the top 10. And as much as I know Magic fans are going to hate me saying this, Scotty Barnes is probably going to make is probably going to be in the mix for the All-Star team too, especially if Toronto continues to play well. We still got a month to go before the reserves are announced. Paolo Banchero is very firmly in the group of players that are going to be in the running for reserve spot. And again, you got Damian Lillard, Tyrese Halliburton as your 2 East starting guards. Trae Young, Tyrese Maxey are probably going to take your other 2 guard spots. Donovan Mitchell might grab a wild card spot. Paolo is going to be one of the 4 front court players, essentially, that makes this All-Star team. I firmly believe that. I feel very confident about that. And frankly, the numbers speak for themselves. Paolo Banchero this year is playing really, really, really well. And obviously, he's coming off an incredible game against Sacramento on Wednesday. But Paolo Banchero for the season is averaging 22.4 points per game, 7.1 rebounds per game, 4.7 assists per game, all up from last year. Shooting 46.5% from floor, 37.9% from 3, all up from last year. And he's still getting a line 7.1 times per game, slightly down from last year. Since December 1st, Banchero is averaging 26.3 points per game, 7.9 rebounds per game, and 4.9 assists per game, while shooting 45.2% from the floor. In his last 8 games, Banchero is averaging 28.4 points per game, 7.6 rebounds per game, and 5.3 assists per game. In the stretch since December 1st, Banchero has had 3 30-point games, joining only Shaquille O'Neal and Tracy McGrady with 3 30-point games in a season for the Orlando Magic. Paolo is doing things that only the elite players in Magic history do. I want to make that very, very clear since we're talking Magic history today. Paolo is having a historic season. And of course, he's coming off an incredible 43-point game against the Kings, where he scored 18 straight points for the Magic in the 4th quarter and overtime, willing that game into a second overtime before Sacramento just double and triple teamed him to death and dared Jalen Suggs to beat them and Trevelyan Queen to beat them. And that was good. That was probably a winning bet for the Sacramento Kings. Paolo deserves way more attention than he's getting. And look, all the national shows gave Paolo his due. I saw, our friends at Locked On NBA talked about it. Locked On Fantasy Basketball talked about it. I saw No Dunks talk about it. All the national shows gave Paolo his due and gave him their flowers. We're seeing all these coaches. Steve Kerr's talked about it. Mike Brown talked about it Wednesday. The coaches know. So while Paolo is sitting at 10th in the fan vote, I am not worried that the coaches will take care of our guy and make sure that he has a ticket to Indy. At this point, I think we should have our pitchforks ready for if Paolo doesn't make it to Indy. I mean, again, process whatever, we'll let out some anger, but he's going to go to Indy. He's going to play in the All-Star game. I have very, very few doubts about that. But we got to ask ourselves, why aren't people talking about him? Sure, Orlando's not on national TV. They're out of the national spotlight, even though they're sitting in 6th in the Eastern Conference right now. They've been in 4th. No one's really watching or talking about this team. And to me, this is a failure of the NBA. Again, your stars are made in the playoffs. I get that, and get Paolo to the playoffs, and I think people will start gaining some interest in him. But this shouldn't be surprising. And in fact, I find it odd, and this is no offense to Chet Holmgren, I find it odd that people think that they should draft Chet Holmgren in a redraft over Paolo. Maybe there's a decent argument for that. But I see a lot of people that just dismiss a lot of what Paolo's doing hat out of hand. Not like he is, a heavy usage player leading his team to the playoffs for the first time. And again, we'll see how much he grows. And I don't want to take anything away from Chet. This isn't an argument against Chet, who's been very good for Oklahoma City. This is more of a statement of the people need to pay attention to Paolo. He's really good. He's like really good. But for whatever reason, Paolo continues to work in almost complete anonymity. It is what it is. I can't sit here and say, I can't sit here and make people pay attention to him. All I can say is keep turning out, keep voting. Let's get him up the standings. I think, obviously I think these returns came before everyone really understood, really saw what he did and watched the highlights of what he did on Wednesday night. If Paolo keeps having big games, and they got a big one Friday night in Denver, if Paolo keeps having big games and is still averaging 25 plus points per game over the next month, then we will probably see him get more votes. I think he can catch Kyle Kuzma. We just want him to beat Kyle Kuzma. Like, honestly, I don't care about anything else. Just finish ahead of Kyle Kuzma in the voting. We'll let the coaches take care of things from there. And get this guy on national TV. Again, I think the NBA has failed miserably. They didn't take advantage of the hot streak that the Indiana Pacers had. The Pacers should have been added on national TV a few more times. I think a team like the Magic, a team like the Thunder, these young teams should be added to national TV more. Invest in these young teams. Start building up your next crop of stars, because Paolo Banchero is going to be among the stars of your league very, very soon. This kid is really, really good. And again, it's incredible to sit here and talk almost like it's guaranteed, and it does feel very close. It's incredible to sit here and talk like Paolo is going to be a sure thing all-star in his second season. I don't take that for granted. This is a rare thing. This is a strange and weird thing that does not happen often. And Paolo is going to accomplish it. And he's going to make it look like a cakewalk in the process. So there's that. We're a long way from 5 going up in the rafters, unless they decide to suddenly retire Donald Royals jersey or Victor Oladipo's jersey. But we're a long way off from 5 going up in the rafters, but he is certainly putting together a very strong resume for it. But that's going to do it for me today. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. Of course, find me on Twitter at @PhilipRR_OMD. Subscribe to the podcast and Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, Himalaya, Google Play, Spotify, Odyssey, and all of them on podcasts to your podcast-enabled listening device. For latest on the Orlando Magic, be sure to check out OrlandoMagicDaily.com. You, of course, follow us there on Twitter at @OMagicDaily. Be sure to check out our YouTube page at youtube.com/@LockedOnMagic to watch my smiling face and this show on YouTube as well. You can also check out my Patreon page, the Orlando Magic Hub. Check out patreon.com/Orlando Magic Hub. That's going to do it for me today, though. Don't forget to check out the Locked On Sports Today 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. Get all the latest from the local Locked On hosts, plus our national shows on the first ever 24/7 sports streaming channel on YouTube. Check it out today at Locked On Sports Today. That's going to do it for me today. We'll be back on Friday night, Saturday morning to chat about the Magic's game against the Denver Nuggets, recap a disappointing and injury-filled road trip. We'll get to that on tomorrow's episode of Locked On Magic. But until then, for Orlando Magic Daily and Locked On Magic, this has been Philip Rossman-Reich. We'll see you all again next time for another episode of Locked On Magic.